Most people in asset management, they follow a straight path. Komal Narang did not. Industrial research to insurance, insurance to mutual funds, a 500% B2C team at ICICI Prudential, and now ground zero at Geo BlackRock. Building the client experience for one of India's most anticipated new AMCs. Welcome, Komal.
Thank you. Thank you, Ruchira. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you here. To begin with, I want to start with the beginning of your professional journey. Your career started at the Thapar Center for Industrial Research and Development, which is about as far from asset management as you can get. So, can you walk us through how you ended up in financial services and at what point did it stop feeling like an experiment and started feeling like the right fit? How did the transition come about?
Uh, Super interesting. I think I completely enjoyed that transition, but I would first want to emphasize that when I started my career,
Mm-hmm.
I was a person who did not have too many goals and did not have a clear career path ahead. So I was
Mm-hmm.
just a person who wanted to start a path and then discover a lot of things as the journey evolved. So I started uh, becoming a research person at the Thapar Industrial Institute that you mentioned. And soon from there, looking at my skill set, I was given a responsibility by the Thapar University to promote one of their executive MBA programs that they were launching in association with University of Manila. So maybe that was a calling for me that my skill set lie more towards engaging with people
Mm-hmm.
and put across messages that could lead to a more commercial outcome. In the first 1.5, 2 years of my career, when I realized that, I thought that a good segue for my career would be then to look for jobs which are in the sunrise industry, where I have an opportunity to make the best of this, skill set. And that's at that time, insurance was looking out as a sunrise industry, as they called it at that point in time. And I did take a leap of faith with a great brand, and I thought that let's start learning a complete new industry,
Mm-hmm.
which is not just socially very relevant, but personally also makes you a very well-rounded human because investment is a great skill set to learn and implement. So I think as women, naturally, we do it in our own little way. But when you start living it as a profession, it only adds another dimension. And it was very heartening for me. And to your point, there was no looking back. While
Mm-hmm.
I was accidentally, you know, introduced to financial services or insurance as a sector, but once when I started understanding the art of making money and the or art or the science of making money or both, I started enjoying it and I started realizing that possibly this is a long term career which many of us should be aspiring to be a part of, and at least I did at that early stage of my career.
Right. So moving from there to ICICI Pru, you led customer engagement for the B2C business with a team of 500 people, and that's not a boutique operation. It's a machine. So, what did running something at that scale teach you about what investors actually need versus what the industry assumes they need?
I think I was blessed to be a part of a very large group like ICICI because it gives you a dimension of experience, and the middle name of every role that you do there is scale.
Mm-hmm.
ICICI as a brand is my alma mater, and I do want to say that everything at ICICI is viewed from a point of view that if you have to execute at scale.
Mm-hmm.
So when this business was set up, and I was told to lead the entire, direct to consumer business for ICICI AMC, we cohorted the customer depending on NHNI, mass affluent, and we did say that look, let's try and understand that what the customer is looking for.
Mm-hmm.
At that scale, also something that came out as a biggest revelation was that customers today are not really looking for complexity. I think many a times we keep over indexing on creating products that are differentiated. But
Mhm.
end of the day, a customer is looking at something which is simple and which can build credibility and trust in his mind. If these two things are uh, s- somewhere addressed in a customer's mind, scale comes automatically. And hence we realize that how do we scale mutual fund as a product. And I had that a transition from insurance to mutual
Mhm.
fund, where I realized that the beauty of the product is unmatched. Mutual fund is such a brilliant product that every possible investor can have it in their portfolio. The only gap that I realized was that possibly we have to simplify the message. And the
Mm.
moment we started simplifying the message and started talking in a very common man language, in a language which is not very jargon led, in a language which is very relatable, and we kept questioning ourselves that how come people are buying fixed deposit, post office schemes, but even stocks directly and not mutual fund. We started going deep into that and solved just one thing, which is communication. So we were fortunate to have a credible brand. So we didn't really have to work on that. The trust came from the brand, communication being easy, scale was inevitable, and I think it was a marriage made in heaven.
Right. Also, at ICICI Prudential Life Insurance, you led a digital sales strategy that ended up contributing to over 70% of the bank's insurance business volume. That was something that I read in your profile. So that's a staggering number. What did you learn from that experience about how technology changes the way people engage with financial products, and how is that shaping your approach today at Geo BlackRock?
So I'll tell you how it happened. So in insurance, the numbers that you are speaking about, this is talking of an age when digital transactions were not a way of life.
Yeah.
I think today we wake up and we don't even realize that almost most of the things that we end up doing in terms of transaction, interaction, consuming, everything happens digitally. But it was not the case about 14, 15 years back.
Yeah.
So 14 to 15 years back, there was this big project that was undertaken in my firm, that how do we convert physical transactions into online transactions?
Mm-hmm.
And through the business vertical that I was managing at that point in time, we could convert almost 70% of those over a period of 1 year, which not just improved efficiencies, but also in a very big way impacted the customer experience. Because efficiencies were not just operational, they were customer interfacing and delivery as well. So that, I guess, was 14 years back, for me, a learning that anything that is adopted ahead of its time and is
Mm.
super convenient for the customer would only be accretive to the business. Now, fortunately, I am, after many, many years, again getting a chance to implement that at Geo BlackRock, and we are seeing here that technology is a backbone of Geo BlackRock. I think we always call ourselves a digital first firm, and an asset manager complementing the digital strategy.
Mm-hmm.
We believe that technology dramatically reduces friction. And today, the investors can research, compare, and transact instantly.
Yeah.
And digital transformation is not just about, putting up your products online. It is not just that I make products available on a platform, but it is about designing an experience that is intuitive, that is transparent, and in a way, it helps the decision making of a customer. Having a digital experience end of the day would mean that the customer feels more empowered and more confident that I can, by reading a lot of things, take a decision on my own. And second, I'm able to execute and transact that also digitally, and I really don't have to depend on anyone.
So now you've moved from ICICI Prudential to BlackRock, which is one of India's largest and um, essentially basically a startup backed by two global giants. So, what made you take that leap, and what is different about building something from the ground up versus running an established operation?
I get asked this question, I think, every time. And it's my favorite question to answer, because having spent 20 years in one of India's largest financial brand like ICICI, and then making a move to Geo BlackRock, everyone asks me that what made you make this move?
Hmm.
And I have only one line to say: it is the joy of creating.
Okay.
Very rarely in your life you get a chance to build something which is grounds up, and that too build something grounds up which is giving you an intersection where there is scale, there's technology, and there's expertise that can leverage the experience that you have gathered all through your years. Now, whenever you make a move in your career, you want to make good of all the experience that you have gained, but at the same point in time, you want to learn something new as well and then implement it at scale. And
Yeah.
with, as you rightly said, there were two very strong brands uh, at the back of this startup. So while we operate in a very startup like culture, we are super agile, very nimble. At the same point in time, the confidence with which I made this move was that with these two brand names would come a lot of learning, because there's a global leader in terms of asset manager who has built the entire business backed on technology and a super future looking outlook that would offer me a lot of learning. And when they'll come to India with a partner like Geo, they would build a business which is working in the interest of the customer, is extremely scalable, and at the same point in time, bringing opportunities to this market which are possibly new and are much ahead of their time. And
Mm.
that was actually, the combination of investment expertise and India's digital ecosystem. It compelled me that I had to be a part of this journey.
Right. So India is at this point of time adding millions of new mutual fund investors every year, and many of them are young, digital first, and making decisions without an advisor. So, as someone building the client experience at a new AMC, what does this generation of investors need from the industry that they're probably not getting right now?
I think this is a very important question, and we should first understand that a lot of new customers who are coming into the market today, one have one are super young. Like
Yeah.
the average age of the investor in this industry has gradually gone down over the years. So we are attracting a lot of customers who are in their late 20s, early 30s, and people are making significant moves with respect to investments. Now, let's first understand their decision making, their behavior is not going to be too different in investments as it is for other products. So let's first map that how does a 20-year-old or a 25-year-old take a decision when they have to buy an iPhone, or for that
Hmm.
matter, any phone, or when they have to travel to a certain location, or when they have to visit a restaurant to eat out. What do they really look for is possibly something which is simple, is transparent, and has instant access. So, all these three things they look for in a financial investment as well.
Hmm.
What they really look for is that they should have a platform which is intuitive enough for them to understand, which offers them knowledge to decipher the product or to understand the product that they're wanting to buy. They want transparency. And hence, I think at Geo BlackRock, we have been vocal enough. They want transparency of portfolios, they want transparency of expenses, they want transparency around the information about everything where the money is invested. And finally, they want instant access. And
Yeah.
instant access would also mean that possibly they don't want to be laced with products that have possibly exit loads. They don't want products that have very high, uh, entry charges. So, removing friction of every kind, not just at the product selection stage, but even at the product execution stage, is extremely vital for this new generation. And we have tried to solve that in many ways at Geo BlackRock while designing our products and while designing our applications. And hence, when we look at this new gen of investors, we believe that they're consuming content, and hence we have invested a lot in that as well. They do believe in reading, they do believe in watching videos. We today have about more than 1,25,000, 1,30,000 people who watch our YouTube channel religiously. And that's
Hmm.
the kind of followership just because we are serving them content which will help them take their decisions easily. So maybe it is a 360-degree approach that first people want solutions and not just products. So you have to educate, you have to invest in creating content, then
Hmm.
create products which are suiting their needs, which are extremely transparent, which build trust with the customer with respect to expense, portfolio, clarity. And finally, you have to give them a platform which is very simple and give them instant access. Once you empower a customer and this new generation with all these things, then they feel very confident to engage with you as a brand.
Right. Uh, Now, in your experience of almost 2 decades, can you share with us how has the industry changed in terms of who gets a seat at the leadership table and what still needs to change? If you could delve into that.
I think I have a huge respect for the incumbents in this industry.
Mm-hmm,
The there are they are doing a very credible job. I think everyone who I look up to in the industry, who's the leader of the pack when it comes to the largest AUM holders, whether it is a firm that I come from or whether it are every other firm that exists in that pack, the incumbents are doing a great job.
mm-hmm,
Uh, and they're only adding every day to build more trust and credibility in the mind of the consumer, which is very vital for an industry to grow. Secondly, we have a fresh inflow of asset managers with a new mindset, which is also very vital. So,
mm-hmm,
there is a brilliant chain of thought that there are incumbents who are holding the credibility, product diversification, and they're doing great measures every day to expand the industry. And on the new side, there are people who are coming with fresh new ideas, very new style of investing ideas, new way of engaging with customer, new way of engaging with distributors. And in the middle of all this, we have a great regulator who's
yeah.
constantly working towards making this product more and more robust for the customer. Every day, the regulator is ensuring that there are developments in the product that are making it far more, working in the interest of the customer. The products are getting far more smarter by the day. The regulator has an eye that it is distributed well, created well, categories are identified well. There are lot of steps that proactively have been taken, and hence that also helps in a massive way to expand, the trust that today exists in the minds of the consumer about mutual fund as a product. We don't see a very large change in terms of, the orders changing in terms of how they exist today, but we do find that there would be changes that would come very soon because the consumer is changing faster than we assume. And if the consumer is changing faster than we assume, we would need complementing investment styles, which maybe have not so far existed in India. We would need more AI led tools to be adapted to understand our customer better and then serve them the products that they need and reach to them in ways and means that they want us to reach. So, investment, distribution, and messaging all would undergo a lot of change as we go along. And I think all of us would adapt to that as we see the consumer changing.
And how have you seen the leadership pipeline for women particularly evolve?
Today, we see a lot of women in this industry. And I think people at the leadership roles, there are many of them. And it's a little joke that I would want to tell you. The team at marketing at Geo BlackRock, they just came to us and said that, look, uh, we want to shoot a video for Women's Day, and we want to identify and break a myth that there are not many women at top in the financial services sector.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Incidentally, we had more women than men, and I thought that you should celebrate Men's Day at the firm someday. At the leadership levels, we had many, many women, and it goes back to the point that I made in the beginning. See, financial services as an industry intuitively is a great industry for women to be.
Mm-hmm.
It's a brilliant industry because somewhere I believe that women intuitively understand finances from day one, and they bring that prudence comes out very naturally in them. It is not to be as much taught as it comes naturally as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, if you just expand it with little more knowledge, then there is no gendered level inhibition that kind of caps anyone's growth. And second, I believe that this is an industry which is very meritocratic. So, to an extent, gender becomes agnostic after a point in time. Your skill sets, how you are building a business, they take over. And it's very heartening every day that we move around in industry circles, and I see that not just in very predictable roles, but across roles, whether it is investments, leadership roles, women are leading the pack and are delivering great businesses.
Great. That's a great thing to know that more women at the top leadership at Geo BlackRock than men. I think 10 years back, probably this wasn't the case at many places. But if it's changing, it's a great news. Um, you worked across insurance, mutual funds, digital transformation, and now a global joint venture. So if you go back and talk to yourself at the start of your career at Thapar Center, before any of this had happened, what would you tell her?
I would say don't try to plan so much and
Mhm.
don't try to plan for perfection. Just say curious, do your job, and something will continue to happen. Look, everything does not go as per how you planned. And for many women out there who are today not taking a first step just because they're wanting it to be a perfect step, I would have given this advice to them and I would have given it to myself that don't wait for it to be perfect, but take the first step. It's fine. We all learn our own ways, and many a times learnings come out of roles that just stretch you in a most unimaginable way.
Yeah.
And learning happens on the way. Many a times, the organizations offer you platforms to learn across roles and across geographies. So it will all fall in place. Have a pure intent, have a great mindset, and take your first step. Don't wait for it to be perfect. Everything need not be perfect.
Well, thank you, Komal. This sounds like the perfect note to end this conversation on. Thank you for joining in, sparing time for this conversation.
Thank you so much, Ruchira, and a very happy Woman Day to you.
To you as well. Thank you.